The legend of Mahavatar Babaji. For nearly 2 centuries, seekers have spoken in hushed, almost reverent tones about an immortal Himalayan yogi, a deathless master who supposedly only steps out of the shadows when humanity is finally ready to receive his guidance. We're talking about a being who allegedly wanders the earth right now, completely hidden from the conventional world, pulling the strings of mankind's spiritual evolution.
But seriously, who or what is Mahavatar Babaji? Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving deep into an absolute enigma. We have to ask, is Babaji an actual flesh and blood being walking the high Himalayas today? Is he just a beautifully crafted myth? Or maybe does he represent a profound spiritual archetype? Look, we're not here to preach or prove anything. Instead, we're going to explore this as a deeply fascinating legend, piecing together ancient traditions and modern encounters to figure out exactly what makes this mystery so irresistible.
Section 1. The Immortal Himalayan Yogi. To kick off this mythic journey, let's look at how he's actually depicted. According to the lore, Babaji is a luminous sadhu, permanently locked in the physical body of a 16-year-old. Just imagine that for a second. Centuries of infinite, universe-bending wisdom, all housed inside the vibrant, unaging vessel of a teenager. There are almost zero confirmed historical details about him, which honestly just fuels the mystique. It leaves us with these mesmerizing artistic interpretations, trying to capture a presence that literally defies time.
So let's trace the lore chronologically. Traditions, specifically those from the 18 Siddhija lineage in southern India, tell us he was born way back around 203 AD in Tamil Nadu. The ancient texts suggest he was initiated into the scientific art of Kriya Yoga by deathless masters, like Siddha Agastya Muni. And through these intensely rigorous yogic practices, he supposedly attained a state of divine immortality. As for today, well, the legend insists he's still out there, hidden in the remote, freezing upper Himalayas, somewhere near the sacred temple town of Badrinath.
What I find so wild about this lore is how incredibly consistent the stories are. Even modern accounts of his appearances share these uncanny similarities. He doesn't just stroll into a crowded market, right? Instead, he manifests suddenly, out of thin air, to advanced seekers, delivers some mind-bendingly profound spiritual instruction, and then poof, vanishes without a single trace. He's not looking for followers. He's looking for specific conduits for his teachings, showing up exactly when he's needed, not a moment sooner.
Section 2. The 1861 Cave Encounter.
All right, let's jump to 1861. This is the big one, the encounter that dragged Babaji out of the shadows of myth and right into modern history. It happens in the silent, high-altitude pine forests of Drawngiri Mountain. Enter Lahiri Mahasaya. At the time, he was just a 33-year-old accountant for the British government's military engineering department, an ordinary married guy who had unexpectedly been transferred to the remote outpost of Ranikhet. So one afternoon, he's wandering these silent mountain trails when suddenly he hears a voice echoing, calling his name from the mouth of a rocky cave. Standing there is a radiant young ascetic who looks exactly like Lahiri himself. It was Mahavatar Babaji. And Babaji drops a staggering secret on this accountant. He says, "The office was brought for you and not you for the office." It turns out, Babaji had silently, telepathically orchestrated this entire job transfer just to reunite with him. The yogi then gently taps Lahiri on the forehead, sending this wondrous current through his brain, instantly awakening his past life memories. Lahiri realizes, holy cow, I spent my previous incarnation meditating in this exact cave with this exact master. Now this is where the story gets incredibly cinematic. To free Lahiri from his very last remaining worldly karma, which was a lingering past life desire to live in a grand palace, the legend says Babaji performed an absolute miracle. Out of the raw cosmic energy of the forest, he materialized a dazzling, jewel-encrusted golden palace, literally overnight. Lahiri received his Kriya Yoga initiation right there in that otherworldly structure, and by the very next morning, Babaji simply dematerialized it back into the ether.
After the initiation, Babaji gave Lahiri a completely revolutionary command: give Kriya freely to all who humbly ask for help. He told him to go back to his mundane life as an accountant and a family man. Why? To show the world that enlightenment isn't just reserved for forced hermits. He commanded Lahiri to break centuries of strict secrecy and offer this spiritual liberation to ordinary householders, people just like us, balancing jobs, families, and everyday stress.
Section 3. Revival of Kriya Yoga. That specific encounter on Drangiri Mountain sparked the resurrection of a practice that had been lost to the wider world for millennia. We need to understand what Babaji actually gave back to humanity here. Kriya Yoga is described as the absolute highest form of pranayama, or life force control. It's not about blind faith. It's an empirical, scientific art designed to accelerate human evolution and achieve complete spiritual realization. Babaji revived this ancient technique to prove that you can absolutely integrate the material and the spiritual.
From there, the secret teaching left that isolated cave and traveled down a massive guru-disciple lineage. From Lahiri Mahasaya, it passed to the brilliant Swami Sri Yukteswar in the late 19th century. Then, in a huge cultural leap, Babaji reportedly appeared in 1920 to a young monk named Paramahansa Yogananda. He gave him a direct blessing to take Kriya Yoga to the West, bridging the deep spiritual traditions of India with America and Europe in a way that had literally never been done before.
This entire lineage culminated with Yogananda writing Autobiography of a Yogi in 1946. And this book didn't just tell a story, it exploded the legend of Mahavatar Babaji into global pop culture. I mean, it was famously the only book Steve Jobs kept on his iPad. He even had it handed out in brown boxes to every attendee at his memorial service. It deeply influenced George Harrison and the Beatles and inspired blockbuster films in India. Suddenly, the whole world knew about the deathless yogi.
Section 4. The Sacred Cave Today.
Okay, let's ground this legend in reality. Where do modern pilgrims go today to connect with this energy? Well, you can actually visit the geographic source point of this entire tradition. Far away from mass tourism, the actual Mahavatar Babaji cave sits above a tiny village called Kukuchina. It's completely enveloped by the heavy stillness of the Kumawan Hills, sitting right around 7,000 feet above sea level. It's one of those places where time just seems to stand entirely still.
Following the exact footsteps of Lahiri Mahasaya, pilgrims take on this beautifully quiet 6-kilometer round-trip trek. You start in Kukuchina, hike up through dense pine and rhododendron forests, pass a small meditation hall, and then you take off your shoes. You step into this small, intimate natural hollow in the rock, Babaji's cave. The air up there is incredibly crisp, and the silence, it is almost palpable.
And here is where things get truly fascinating. Even highly skeptical travelers report that the cave possesses an atmosphere that just defies logic. People consistently describe an otherworldly tranquility, a sudden, profound deepening of their meditation, and this overwhelming sensation of unexplainable peace and clarity. It's as if the veil between the physical world and the spiritual realm is just remarkably, tangibly thin in that one specific spot. Section 5. Beyond the Visible World.
So as we wrap up this explainer, we have to ask, what does all of this mean for us today, living in our fast-paced modern world? Well, here's a surprising insight. Perhaps the true power of Babaji's legend lies not in whether we can scientifically prove his physical existence. Maybe the real magic is in what he represents. Babaji stands as a symbol of the uncharted potential of human consciousness. He's the ultimate reminder that we might just have the capacity to evolve way beyond our ordinary perceived limitations.
So, is Babaji a physical, immortal master hidden in the Himalayas? Is he a profound spiritual archetype? Or is he simply a reminder that the greatest mysteries of consciousness may still be waiting just beyond the visible world? We're going to leave you with that final thought to reflect on. Subscribe to The Spiritual Radical for more journeys into ancient wisdom, hidden history, and the unexplored frontiers of consciousness.